It's no secret that tank is not fun to play right now. If you look across any Overwatch community, whether it be Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, especially YouTube, there are many people who are making the same complaint. Tank is not fun to play. While you could point towards the change from 6v6 to 5v5 as one of the reasons as to why tank is just not fun right now, I want to focus on a different one. The impact that supports have on the outcome of team fights. No matter where you fall on the great debate of supports being too strong or not strong at all, the support role has benefited from this change to 5v5. Most supports have received buffs to improve their survivability, whether it be their mobility, DPS, or improved abilities for self-use. I think of heroes like BAP with his AoE heal and his immortality field. It gives him a lot of survivability. But with these changes, this allows for some supports to have greater DPS potential and just overall survivability, which I will admit, as a biased support main, was very much needed in the early balancing of Overwatch 2. One of these supports, though, as Nezins pointed out in a previous video comment section, seems to be every hero's kryptonite, especially tanks. And the support I'm referring to that you can probably guess is Ana. With her sleep dart, biotic grenade, she is a pain for any tank to deal with. No matter how good the tank is, most Anas will have the upper hand when it comes to punishing tanks, especially those without shields. This often forces Kiriko to be a counterpick on one of these supports for the other team. And overall, this leads to a very stale meta where Ana and Kiriko are very strong picks because their survivability of the tank is essential for winning team fights in Overwatch games in general. So what do I suggest to fix this? Well, it would be something kind of small but kind of big at the same time. And I want you to stick with me here because I don't think I've seen anyone else suggest this. This small change, I think it could still preserve the identity of Ana and her abilities, keep Kiriko relevant as a counter to Ana, while allowing for tanks to be free from this sort of hellish punishment that Ana is able to inflict, which, is what we're all hoping for, especially tank players. I would suggest that we change the tank role passive ability. And in saying that, I want to remind you guys about the DPS and support role passive ability. So DPS, after getting an elimination, grant a burst of increased reload speed. And this is very fitting because, that's their whole thing. Deal damage, kill, and they're rewarded with a faster reload, which allows them to deal more damage. And, you get this really cool cycle going, and it rewards you for doing well. For supports, you get automatic healing after not receiving damage after 2 seconds, which is also helpful. It allows you to disengage from team fights and not have to draw the attention of your other support to come help you. It allows you to sort of disengage and re-engage into team fights, and it keeps the team fights going without, healers going down so quickly like we'd see in Overwatch 1. If one healer needed another support's help, then, the entire team felt the lack of heals when the supports were helping each other. Now let's think about the tank's role passive ability. They have reduced knockback, and along with it, they do have less ultimate charge being generated when they're healed or receiving damage. And while I agree that, having the ultimate generation being reduced when they are either healed or they take damage, it makes sense, but the reduced knockback has me asking some questions. Is it really relevant? I will throw up a quick little list of some of the characters that I can remember off the top of my head that have some sort of knockback based ability or some sort of interaction like that. And I think it was like 11 out of 39 heroes that I quickly looked at, and that's about 28%. So 28% of the Overwatch heroes have the ability to do some sort of knockback thing in which the tank role passive would be beneficial. And I guess while this role passive is useful when facing heroes who have some sort of knockback ability, I think we can all agree that it's not nearly as useful as the other role passives. And as I mentioned before, DPS get rewarded with a kill. They get to reload faster and re-engage into team fights. Same thing with supports. They get to disengage, heal themselves without drawing the attention of the support, and team fights are therefore extended. But with the tank role passive, you don't really see that. I mean, sure, reduced knockback damage is very useful when you're playing on, let's say, Lijiang Tower or something, when you're on that bridge going over and there's a Lucio or a Pharah who's attempting to boop you off. It could be helpful when Orissa is using her javelin spin and she's kind of pushing the team back, but you take reduced knockback so you aren't pushed as far back and you're still able to successfully hold like a front line. But aside from those rare interactions that, like I said, which 28% of the heroes have the chance to sort of engage in this team fight, in this fight where the tank role passive is directly benefiting the tank, I think that it's time for some sort of change. So overall, what I'm suggesting is that the tank role passive should either be changed, or at the very least, it should be like an additional passive that should be added on to the knockback and the reduced ultimate generation and all that, would be one that reduces the duration of inflicted effects, like Ana's biotic grenade, Ash's dynamite, and even maybe things like Zen's Discord orb. The way I see it, supports used to have a massive target on their backs, and as Overwatch 2 has continued to receive updates and patches, the targets have slowly gotten smaller until the target was put onto the tank's back. And I think a small but radical change like this could help tanks breathe a little easier, while still preserving the impact of someone like Ana and still allowing for counterplay with someone like Kiriko. This seems like almost a win-win for everybody, depending on how it's implemented, of course. I didn't give any specific number, nor did I have any number in mind for how long the durations would last with a tank role passive that shorten the durations. That's something that I would leave to, ideally, the Overwatch dev team who's in charge of buffs and nerfs and stuff like that and overall game balancing. But I think it's something worth thinking of. In this way, Ana, who's been an iconic character since Overwatch 1, is still allowed to be herself. Kiriko still gets to counterplay that. These heroes, like, supports win, tanks win, and overall, I think it'd be healthier for the game. I think it's been a long time that tanks have sort of suffered as a result of supports being strong, especially Ana with her biotic grenade. I think she's been a little overtuned, and overall with the shift to 5v5, she's just had a lot more practical use and ability and impact on team fights. And I think something like this would help change that. And I think it's something to seriously think about. So please, if you guys have any thoughts about this, please let me know. I haven't seen this take floating around anywhere yet, so I'm hoping you guys will have something interesting to say. If it's a good idea or a bad idea, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And real quick, before you guys flame me for this, I understand this would have pretty terrible consequences for tanks like Roadhog and Mauga, who primarily are countered by this grenade. This is just food for thought. I obviously didn't think too deep about it if I didn't think about those two tanks being very strong if they had some sort of effect like this. But just, food for thought. Don't take me down too hard for this. Thank you.